Hi everyone, we are going to be reviewing another NL5 video here. So Daniel had some problems playing his account because he deposited from a UK account and then they freeze his account for a while, so he played on my account for this session. Okay, so let's get started. So I have not been playing PokerStars for a while and I have not fixed my HUD, so for this video we are going to be relatively readless. Anyway, I don't have stats on my computer. Okay, so let's just get started. 5-8 off, it's a really loose steal. This is like bottom 15% of hands, I think. I think it's fine. People probably fold too much. On the top left table, which is table 1, so Daniel calls with pocket nines and we go for a check call, which is fine. And on table 4 we have 9-7 offsuit, which is going to be a steal. So you're actually stealing pretty wide, so
Yeah.
I would actually advocate making it 2.5x instead of 3x.
Okay.
Okay, so table 1, given that he checked back, I think you have the best hand here like 90-95% of the time, so you probably want to be betting large because you are very far ahead, so just like 35 to 40 cents and then you can just like pot turn pot river, that's fine. It's super unlikely he has like pocket 3s or like 5-4. Yeah, so see, like I think you're losing value here, so you did mention earlier that you're probably losing value in a lot of spots. So when you know you are very clearly ahead, just bomb it. Don't be afraid of going for max value. If, for example, you were on the flop thinking of c-betting, then perhaps if you use the smaller size, that's more reasonable. Why? Because firstly, we want to have a more balanced flop bet size, even though I don't think it's that important at NL5. Secondly, his range isn't so well defined on the flop, but when he checks back the flop, we straight away know that pocket nines just dramatically increases in relative hand strength. Okay, ace jack. So you are still using the 4BB open. I honestly think that you can strongly consider just reducing it to 3 big blinds. I guess at the next limit you probably should just reduce it at NL10.
Okay.
Yeah.
My undergun range is still at 10% though, so it's pretty tight.
Okay, I guess it's fine to open large when it's tight. Okay, so here you ISO raise a short stack fish, so I think you're half pot.
Half pot and give up, he calls.
Yes. Okay, so these two opens in table 1 and table 3 are fairly standard. This guy makes a mean 3-bet and this guy calls. It's a very standard call, but like you need to proceed with caution for sure. It's a snap call, I don't think you need to think.
I was thinking of 4-betting
No,
bluff, but
I don't like
decided
it.
not to.
Yeah. Okay, 4-3 definitely a steal. So without equity, I think we have a very easy give up. So do we bluff the turn when check 2? I think it could be an okay spot to like bet 60 cents here. Betting small is no good because I feel like this guy has ace king a lot, or maybe both of them have ace king or ace queen pretty often. So maybe 60-65 cents. If this guy checks again, I think we have to heavily discount like 8s to jacks and queens from his range, so it makes it a decent bluffing spot. With that said, if you give up, it's also fine. So I don't get the logic. You stole 8-5 off and then you don't steal 8-3s with it.
I thought it was a better hand, 8-5 off, but clearly I'm wrong.
The 5 gives you more straight potential, but it's very weak. I think the suitedness is more important.
Okay.
And the difference between a 5 and a 3 is kind of insignificant. Yeah, so you do represent quite a lot of pocket pairs, so I think your ace high is really good here.
Yeah.
Because of the 3-bet dynamic. Okay, so like, I guess you wouldn't have gotten him to fold. I'm pretty sure he would have called.
And neither could we bet the river because the board paired. So, but yeah, we if we had to fire one street, we probably had to fire two against.
No, I don't agree.
Yeah.
I feel like he has a lot of. Okay, I think it's okay to give up ace high, because when you have ace high, it's less likely that both of them have ace high. Okay, so I think actually your play is fine, but if you have a hand like, let's say you have 10. Let me think. What can you have? Jack 10 suited, for example. That would be a gut shot, right?
Yeah.
And also, you don't block ace king and ace queen. So that would be a pretty good hand to bluff the turn. With king queen blocks ace king and ace queen. Maybe queen jack I would also stab, for example. Okay, this is a 3-bet, ace queen, ace 8. I am, without reads, I think it's too loose to squeeze. Oh, actually the stats did appear, that's strange. Maybe the heart is working because...
No, these are
just that I
players
don't
you
have
have stats on
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, perhaps you're right. Ace 8 off could be a squeeze, but I think standard is to fold. I would squeeze maybe ace jack. Ace queen off. Perhaps ace 10 off and king queen off, but this is too loose. 3-5 suited could be a steal. I think folding's fine as well. So like, I think 3-5 opening 3-5 suited is not as loose from the cutoff as opening 8-5 off.
Yeah.
Actually, they are kind of similar. I guess both are pretty loose opens. Yeah. A7, definitely a call from the big blind. From the small blind,
Yeah. With no stats, I didn't know whether he was going to 3-bet. I just decided to fold.
I don't think people squeeze very often at this limit, so flatting here can't be all that bad. So do we want to have a flatting range in the first place? It probably makes sense at lower limits because people don't squeeze so often. I think I'll set my cutoff at about ace 8 off or ace 9 off. I think you can flat off suited aces here. Yeah, that's reasonable. Pocket queens. Okay, yes, open. 6-7, probably a fold. I guess I'll set my cutoff at 7-8 suited from under the gun. But you are playing a tighter strategy, which is also fine. Okay, so table 3. Okay, table 1 we have a pretty crappy swat, I guess. He is only 60 big blinds, so I don't think we can call here given stack sizes. So we are forced in a push off mode.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And given stack sizes, he's probably 3-betting wider than usual. So I think you folded here, is it?
No, I called it.
Look
I was not gonna fold, but I was also not happy with.
Okay, you see, if you call, pot is 150, and you guys have 240 left behind, so that's about 1.6 times pot size bet left in stacks. That's
pretty awkward.
really awkward.
Yeah.
Yes, and I feel like he would take this line with jacks, 10 sometimes, ace queen sometimes. So I think your hand's strong enough to push here. If he folds, that's also fine because. And he made such a large 3-bet, which makes pushing kind of nice. Queen 7 off, very very standard steal, and ace 5 suited. What's your take on this situation?
We can bet large, bet larger, a bit, 30 cents.
Okay, so if we think about the board in terms of like
volatile and wet, yeah.
We want to bet large, but exploitatively, your hand is not very strong. So like I think a smaller half pot bet might make more sense.
But wouldn't a smaller half pot bet cause a lot of like overcuts to call?
Yes, we want overcuts to call, right? We are betting for value. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but if we bet too large and he only calls with very few ace highs and pocket pairs, then we are isolating ourselves against stronger ranges.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's important. Yes, against good opponents, we want to balance our bet sizes, but a lot of the times, come on man, like we don't have stats on them, they don't have stats on us. Even if they do, it's not as though their hearts contains information about our bet sizes.
Yeah.
They don't have sample, and I don't think they're using Node Caddy, so that's fine.
So I contemplated raising and then I flat.
Yes, it's definitely a flat, and then we flat turn and probably full river. Okay, so here he checks, and our hand isn't too strong, so you have two options. Check back is the standard option. Second option is to put in a blocker bet of like 20 to 25 cents, just for thin value and protection.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, I kind of like the blocker bet option. I don't think he will check raise very often, which is the main downside to the blocker bet.
I think I bet too large.
Yes, so like what is he calling here with?
I'm isolating myself against all the stronger hands.
Yes, so
it's not the flush draw.
I think the hands he would continue with some 5x. Yes, it's good you have the top kicker, which I like, but it's a 5. Like how many 5s can he have? 5, 6, 5, 4, 5, 7 suited. That's about it. And he's going to have 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, a lot. Draws, I feel like if people lead the flop with draws, they will barrel the turn. It's pretty rare for people to lead the flop with a draw and then check call the turn. Just very, very unlikely.
Table 1 we both have queens. But you're right, I should have shoved it pre-flop.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yes, shove it pre. Okay, we should raise here. So we have a gut shot, so probably double barrel. Okay. So how strong is our hand now?
Strong, but not medium strong, I think. Strong.
It's strong. Not
Yeah.
medium strong, stronger than that. So I think can go for 2 streets of value, just bet on the smaller side. So maybe like 70 cents on the turn. He's probably never folding an ace. On the river, you decrease your bet size to half pot and hope he calls you down with 2 pairs. I don't think he's folding 2 pairs, but he might call ace king ace queen if you against a half pot bet. And if he raises you, you are in a really shitty spot. Probably a fold. I feel like people are under bluff.
I overvalued my hand then.
Might be a bit too big. I don't mind going a bit larger on the turn, but because people are not folding top pair, but it's important to, most important thing is to decrease your bet on the river. So 3-9 suited, I would always call this. But if you're not so confident post flop, 3 betting or folding are both reasonable. But like if you fold and he's min raising with a really wide range, you're probably letting him get away with it. So you need to look out for people who are stealing very wide. And I think people who min raise in this spot are generally stealing super wide. So you need to punish it somehow. Okay, so you opted to go for delayed c-bet. I think it's okay. You have the backdoor flush draw, which is a good reason to bet, but you don't have backdoor straight equity, and going for delayed c-bet is always a reasonable option. Just that I don't like the option so much at lower limits. Like I think it's better to use a higher c-bet frequency, because people will bluff very often when checked too, which means that checking a hand like queen 6 suited, for example, in this spot is good, because people should just bluff the turn very often. Okay, so yeah, standard fold. Here we have bottom pair. I think it's really close between betting half pot and checking. If he bets the turn, it wouldn't make sense. because the ace is a card which really helps you because you are checking a ton of ace highs on the flop. But anyway, I would check again. Wow, this is like such a nonsensical bet. Obviously we are calling. I hope you don't fold. Yeah, check it down. Guess he was trying to set the price to draw Jack 8. I guess it's a fold, you could open as well. 4-2.
No equity, I just gave up.
Okay, yeah, so you can bluff the turn or you can bluff the river. My preferred line is to check twice and bluff the river. I feel like this is a pretty shitty hand on this board. Yeah, so if he doesn't show any aggression, and you would be at the very bottom of your range, so it's kind of good to bluff with. Okay, so with the king high flush draw, the nut flush draw, I would call twice and check the river. So when he checks to you, I think it's pretty close between checking to showdown or turning your hand into a bluff. If I floated the flop with a king high, I would probably just show it down. You do have diamonds though, so like betting when you have equity is never a bad thing, even when you have showdown value. So
I'm more inclined to bet to fold all the under pairs. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so it depends. Of course, if he were the type of player to see bet deuces to sevens here and check fold the turn, then betting here is good. But is he such a player? I don't know.
We'll find out.
Also, pairs are not a really huge part of his range, given that he is stealing from the small blind, so his range could easily be 50% or more. Of course, we do not know that, but just something to think about. So do we bluff the river? I would triple barrel some draws, but I generally avoid bluffing king high because it's very possible that the bad player who's playing with a half stack and has a bronze star, I think it's very plausible that he could bet flop check or turn with a hand like Jack 10 of diamonds, for example. So which makes me not want to bluff with king high. Okay, so table 3, you have
Gut shot.
you have an open ender.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you can pot the turn, you can overbet the turn, both are options. I would like to overbet queen jack here. 6-7. Overbetting is also fine, but your straight draw isn't so good. Like if you overbet here and then you hit the 8 and he hits the 8 with queen jack, that would be really bad. So I think maybe potting is probably better here. Table 4, he bets flop, bets turn. Board has 2 flush draws. It's close. Like I think calling one small is okay. The bad thing is that if the board pairs, the 9, it's really bad for you. Imagine if the 9 of hearts came.
Yeah.
It would be a really good spot for him to check call ace high, because you have a lot of counterfeited pairs as well as busted draws. I think it could be a call. Yeah, it's close. I wouldn't mind fold either. But it's because of the presence of the second flush draw. If this were the 8 of hearts, I would fold.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are torn between 3 betting for value or flatting to let the fish in. So it would be really helpful to have reads here. If this guy is like a huge whale, 40 to 50 VPIP and above, I would call here just to let him in. If he's like more of a tight passive fish who doesn't really pay off all that often, then I would just want to fast play my hand.
By the way, I don't know whether I timed out my kings on the left on table 1 because I was too busy with.
Yes, you did. Pretty obvious.
And I know.
Okay, wait. Anyway, the 70 cents is too large.
Okay.
Like, you keep telling me that 20 cents to 60 cents is super huge, and then you make it 70. I don't get your logic.
I thought he might be a bad player who doesn't understand.
No,
the
you
size of my
don't. You
bet.
do not. You do not have any reads on him. You see, you like to draw such conclusions.
I'm hoping, yeah. So you see, I checked the replay because I thought, did I just fold kings? And then
Yeah.
And I guess I did, but I wasn't sure. But don't worry, it's online. We can get plenty of kings in the future.
Okay, so we have a pretty clear check back, call, turn, and probably fold river. It would be pretty weird for him to lead the turn, so I honestly wouldn't fold here. Like, what's he leading here? It doesn't make sense.
Really?
If he has an ace, he should check. If he has jack 10, he should go for a check raise. So, hands which makes sense here. Maybe ace jack, ace 10 wants to bet, turn bet river.
How about
But-
king?
No,
King, queen.
a king. Okay, yes, two pairs might want to bet, turn bet river, but
King Jack would check the turn, right? Okay, I wasn't so advanced. I was like, oh, I have bottom pair, and there's so much.
generally anyway, bottom pair you want to put in one bet. Because the lead here from him doesn't make sense. Like 10-8, jack 8, stuff like that might take this bet turn line. Or maybe a hand like 5-6 of hearts. I don't really buy it, to be honest. Like, if you have an ace in his shoes, would you really go and lead out? You would check and let the guy try to wrap the ace, right? Of course, not everyone
Plays
thinks
that way, yeah.
things like that, but at least that's how I would imagine most players would play as you. So I feel like this pot size bet is probably a draw.
So we've been filming how many hours of video, and that this is 6 minutes, 7 minutes in. So this video might have to be split into two parts, I guess.
Yes, definitely. It's whether it's 2 or 3 parts.
Yeah. So I realized I was opening a bit wider than usual, so I thought that I would open 17 cents now from undergun +1, just as
I think you can just open 3 big blinds, so just save yourself the hassle. Okay, so tens, I think you called pre, right? And then check.
Yeah.
So if it goes check twice, so what could he have that could call on the river?
like a pocket pair that wants to show down, so 3s to 5s.
Okay, so do you expect him to check twice with an ace?
No, I don't.
Very
think so.
unlikely, right?
Yeah.
Especially when there are 2 flush draws out there.
Yeah.
What about kings to jacks? That's 24 combo.
I expect him to bet the
18
turn.
combos.
I expect him to bet the turn. If
Sometimes, but I still think he can have some of those. He does have some 8s. So like
8-7,
very few 8s, just 8-7. Because 8-6, 8-9, I guess he can have 8,
9-10,
10,
9-10.
10-8.
Yeah, 9-10. That
I
kind
think
of
9-10 would bluff the flop.
Okay.
So I feel like he either has a low pocket pair, like deuces to 7s,
Yeah.
or he might have a middle pair, like 8x, or maybe a stronger pocket pair. So how do you think you're faring against such a range?
You have value, I guess. Like 50%.
Yeah, I think you have value, but your value is not very good because I think in his shoes he would often fold deuces, right? People don't check and then call deuces on the river. I feel like that doesn't happen. So you'll get paid off by 8x, maybe 7s, maybe some 9x, occasional 9x, although I think he rarely has that. And you lose to maybe some kings, queens, and jacks, which we have to discount because he checked the turn. So against this range, maybe you have 70% equity or 60%. So I feel like the best line is to block bet here. Bet 7 cents. So I don't see how he's raising kings, queens, and jacks against a 7 cents bet. And he can call with worse hands. So I rather he pay us off with worse hands rather than check here and allow him to check back the worse hands.
Okay.
And bet larger, and we have to pay off
Yep.
his stronger hands.
I'm all for betting as well.
Yeah, but the main thing is the size. So checking makes more sense if we think he would take the double check and delay river bluff.
I believe
But-
I went for 12 cents bet, half pot bet, or slightly less than half pot.
Yeah, I think that's too large. If you have queens here, you bet half pot, that's fine. But tens is too weak. So the difference between queens and tens is quite significant when we're dealing with tight ranges. But of course, if we are in blind versus blind, then that's just a very small part of the entire range of both players. So he ends up folding very quickly. So I'm pretty sure he has pocket twos. He could have king queen though, but I feel like people usually see bet bluff there. So this guy makes a very small bet. So check calling, check raising. I think both are reasonable options. I don't have any strong preference. The weaker the player, the more you want to fast play your hand, because we fast play before the board turns ugly, and a bad player would happily stack off ace without the spade here, even though they probably should, because most players don't check raise bluff enough here.
Yeah, but that's what I think, because any aces or strong hand will want to fast play this, and so I should check raise rather than.
I agree with you on that. I feel like people will overplay. Yeah. And they do not barrel bluff enough.
They'll be like, oh look, 3 spades, I need to protect my.
Yes. I think that's the default. Okay, so table 1, you opted to
C-bet. Yeah.
No, you didn't bet.
Oh, we didn't bet, yeah.
So you can bluff turn, you can check turn bluff river, that's fine. I can't prefer bluffing the turn. I feel like he would often take a stab on the river if we don't bluff the turn. He might even bluff this turn because it brings a 4 straight, even though he shouldn't have it very often. I feel like he's just going to try to bluff rapid all the time. I guess you can just fold here. Honestly, if you, it's a bit of a fancy play, but clicking it back here is honestly a pretty good play as well, because I just feel like people with ace-6 here, do they really lead in this spot? I don't think they do it very often.
Yeah, they would check call.
Yeah, so this is one of those spots where I just think he has a lot of bluffs. A small red bluff could work wonders. Why a min raise? Because we just want to shut out his air. I don't think he's necessarily folding an ace to a 50 cents raise. Yeah, so we just want to bluff as cheaply as possible. Our line makes no sense as well, but people at this limits, they'll be like, oh, I don't have, he raised me, I'm just going to fold and wait for the next hand.
I think I was also preoccupied by my big hand on the table too, so I was just playing quite straightforward with my other hands, which is what I do usually when I sense a big pot potentially brewing.
Okay, with ace jack, if he bets the river, like smallish, like 60% pot, I would probably consider calling as well,
Yeah.
even though I wouldn't be too happy. Yeah, so could we bet for value?
I was quite eager to check it down, but you were right. Maybe you could get some value from worse jacks. Jacks, you mean?
So it kind of depends on the timing. If he snap checks, I think a queen would definitely take a long time to consider. So this is one of those spots where having timing tells would be pretty valuable. Okay, takes about, oh, the video didn't start. Why am I counting? About 3 seconds. It wasn't that fast, but I feel like we have to discount Queen X quite heavily from his range. I think like a 30-40 cents bet is good. You have top kicker. If he has King Jack, he would probably make a cracking call. Yeah.
On table 2, what do you think the sizing should be? I remember that being quite awkward because I realized that any half pot bet would make...
your raise size on the flop is bad. Probably make it like, if you make it 110, you can just jam the turn with a slide over.
So it depends on whether you're on 2 streets or 3 streets, right?
I think 2 streets is good for this spot. 3 streets, no, you can't really go for 3 streets in a 3-bet pot, because you can go for 3 streets without raising at any point in a 3-bet pot. So if you include raising, it should be 2 streets only. Yeah, so here you see you have like 1.6 times the size of the pot bet. 1.6 times PSB left. If you had made it larger, you can maybe make 1.1 to 1.2 pot size bet. Shove on the turn. Okay, I guess he wouldn't have paid you off anyway, but you did lose some potential value against a weaker jack.
I was very confused by the size on table 2. That's
Okay,
why.
so now since you made the sizing really awkward, probably maybe bet one on the turn and jam the river.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the case where I bet so much on the
Okay,
turn
I
and then the spade comes out on the river and then like it's just lame if I check and fold.
you bet 150 here. If he calls what, we'll have like 550. He will have 250 left. So that's like less than a half pot bet. So I don't like the size, it's too big. Probably 1 to 120 is fine. Huh? Okay.
That's nice. Because if he had flat there and the fourth spade come out, I think
Okay,
I would.
it was a very significant read, so it's important to write notes. Because Jack 7 suited as a preflop 3 bet, and that spot is just super loose. It could mean he's super loose and aggressive, but more likely than not, he does not have a clear game plan and is 3-betting completely by feel. That's the second option, and it's probably the case in that spot. But still, it's quite significant to know that he's 3-betting such a weak hand.
And he can stack off with Jack 7 suited with no spade.
He might be putting you on a hand like ace spade, queen diamond. That's usually how people think. So just jamming for protection. And I don't think his jam is that bad because like he's kind of in a push or pull mode when you already
Yes.
made such a large bet.
Because in hindsight you can tell he didn't want the spade to come, whereas if
Yes.
the spade came he would be checking the hand down. And he might even turn his hand to a bluff if he's actually good.
Okay, so we are a bit slow. I will try to be a bit faster and be less detailed about the explanation of each hand. Okay, pocket 8s. Yeah, okay, the open is fine. This is a 4. Six 4. I would typically call, but I guess folding is fine against a min raise. Might be a bit too loose for you. Here it's a fold. He's short and it's really large. I'm almost tempted to call here as well, but I guess folding is fine. 7-8 I think is a call. Oh yeah, I think 3-betting is also fine.
Yeah, it's in my 3-bet range.
Okay, the problem here is that you guys are deep. I would make it 50 cents here. Yeah. Okay, so this hand is not strong enough to check call. I could potentially consider check calling ace queen, ace jack, queen jack sometimes. But I don't like the idea of check calling such a weak straight draw. But at the same time, we still have gut shot, so I think betting is standard. But the board, note that the board is really coordinated. So if I had a hand like ace deuce of spades, I would often go for a delayed bet. Yeah. So here kings, standard check, call turn and decide river. So do we go for the bet on the turn on the river? I think both are fine. Yeah. You probably only have one street of value. Okay, in that case I actually prefer checking the turn. Why? Can you think of any reason why I would prefer checking the turn?
Just show weakness and gives more incentive for
That's not the main reason. The main reason is that ace 3 5 5, it's very hard for him to have a pair.
No, I was charging the backdoor flush draw if he had, but then I think
he
would
rarely
have
has it. He would have let the turn himself.
Yeah,
I think you also had
You're
the
right.
king of clubs, if I'm not wrong.
I think you're right.
So we are hoping he has a hand like queen jack or like 10-9. The river hits. He improves to a pair and he either leads himself or we value bet against him. So
Either
with kings is like the least vulnerable hand in that spot. So I would very much prefer to check again. I don't think he has many 4x or 2x, so I'm not really afraid of a straight, to be honest. And I feel like people would also lead, most people will lead the straight on the turn, the straight draw, I mean.
Sorry for the misclicks. All the
Okay,
this guy's really short.
I guess calling is fine, but like it's, and you can just raise and get it in on this flop.
2 street plan.
Your, I think I feel like your sizing is kind of messed up in some spots. So raising 30 cents here should suffice, right? Because if he calls, pot will have 95 cents. He will have 90 cents left. So raising to 30, between 30 to 35 is fine. So you need to be counting those in your, the pot size in your head. Yeah, instead of just sticking to rules like 4x or 3x. Yeah, but I guess it doesn't really matter in this spot.
It's good that we block his outs.
Okay, this is a 4, queen 6 is a 4 against a 3x open. 7 deuce suited could be a steal.
Really? No, it's too loose. I think
As I said, you steal 8-5 off.
no, but I give more
No,
weight to
this is better than 8-5 off. 8-6 off would be better than 7 deuce suited, but I feel like 8-5 off is very weak. No, I hate the call here. I would squeeze.
Squeeze or fold, you mean?
If this guy open, I wouldn't mind calling. He's also kind of fishy, so I wouldn't mind 3-betting him to isolate. But especially with the with another caller, this hand just plays really poorly. If you call here, I feel like big blind is coming along for the right really often. Not that it's going to be minus EV as a call, but squeezing just plays better.
But is folding also an option? I mean, is squeezing just the obvious play?
Yes, squeezing is the most obvious play.
Just think what if like
if you squeeze here, I think this guy calls, this guy folds really often, or maybe both of them fold, and then you just see bet the flop and win really often.
what about the fact that he's under the gun and like he
I don't really care. Like even if he calls your ace queen, we still have an advantage because we are the pre-flop raiser. Right? He's gonna check for on this flop, for example. Oh, I didn't click. Okay, this is an open. 10-7 off. Okay, doesn't matter. I think we should make this video into 3 parts. It's going to be too long. I think it's probably 40 minutes has passed, if I'm not wrong. Haven't really been timing. So we just have a bunch of folds. Nothing significant has happened. Five, 6 would be really loose, but it can't be that bad. 6s would be a he is short, so I would fold against this guy. But the pot odds are really good, so calling can't be that bad. Like it's a 2.5x open. Pocket 9s you call, which is standard. Kings you open. Okay, so question is, do we call the flop if he bets? If he bets on the smaller side, I think we can call once. I feel like people see bet on this dry texture.
Yeah.
way too much, even in through.
If it's a
through
pot size pot, I think we could consider folding.
Yes, yes. Against a 35 cents bet or less, I would call. Now it's check to us, so we need to weigh the advantages of betting here for thin value and protection versus giving away a free card. Of course, it's good if we expect the button to bet a lot himself and check too, and we have the preflop raiser folding. Here,
I think checking to get some information from the button might be useful.
okay, the thing is that I don't want to give a free card to two players,
Yeah, that's true.
and your hand is really vulnerable here. So I actually prefer betting 25 cents here.
Betting 25 cents, checking the turn.
Checking and deciding on the turn. But of course, if we knew this guy is calling really often, I would call. So like this is a very ugly spot. He check calls the flop. So he could have a 10, he could have a hand weaker than us. Occasionally he is slow playing a full house or quads or an overpair. This guy bets. I feel like his range could be very wide, but we have no clue. So our hand is either crush here or
Marginally.
marginally ahead. So I feel like this is a fold.
I think we should bet bigger on table 4 because it's a wet and volatile board. So I think it's
Okay, let's finish ace jack hand and we
and
shall
tens on.
end
Yeah.
we shall end the video. So if they both check to me, I would take a step. Why? Because you block aces, you block ace queen, you block jacks, you block queen jack. It's good to have the Broadway blockers. So that's the reason why I would take a step. Now that he bets, I guess you just have to fold here. Okay, so thank you for watching part 1. We're going to be recording 3 parts, I suppose, because the footage is 45 minutes and every 15 minutes will take about 30 to 50 minutes to produce. Okay, so leave your comments. We have the Facebook group up and running at the moment, so you can just request for us to let you join the group. If you have any questions about the videos, you can drop your questions in the Facebook group as well. So with that's it, that's all, and see you guys next time.